So Dr. Carson, this is the historic March on Washington, of which you were a part. Mm-hmm. Can we see you in here?
I was probably right about there.
About 250,000 people marched on Washington in August 1963, including civil rights activist Clayborne Carson. It was one of many protests against segregation and other forms of legal discrimination during that era.
I was 19 years old. I didn't tell my parents I was going. For me, this was an event that was long overdue.
There was that sense of urgency.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what King spoke to, is the urgency of now. There comes a time when people get frustrated at the slow pace of change.
Today, more than 50 years later, there seems to be a new sense of urgency. Images and videos of Mike Brown, Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, Freddie Gray, and others sent shockwaves through communities across the country and inspired a new generation of activists demanding justice.
One of the moments that really hit home for me was when Trayvon Martin was killed and George Zimmerman was acquitted. I saw myself in Trayvon Martin. You know, I was the kid who every single day would walk home, stop at 7-Eleven, buy some candy and a sweet tea. The reality that at any moment somebody could have come up, attacked and killed me, and the justice system wouldn't have done anything, it hit home.
25-year-old Sam Sinyangwe works with a team called We the Protesters to organize activists and to use social media to affect change. Sam, you tweeted last year there were protests in over 100 cities. That hasn't happened since 1965. It's a new civil rights movement, folks. What would you say is different about today's civil rights movement?
One big key difference is the use of technology. How technology has been an instrumental tool in bringing folks together and scaling the work at a pace that really was unheard of in the 60s. The year since Mike Brown has been killed has seen over 3 times as many protests happening as 1965. And so this is a scale that really is unheard of in American history.
Can you talk to me about organizing back in the 1960s? How did people organize an effective grassroots movement?
Mainly face-to-face. And the main, electronics we used were telephones. In fact, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee developed what they called the Watts line. And all it really was a way of making inexpensive long-distance telephone calls.
A WATS, or Wide Area Telephone Service Line, allowed civil rights workers to report threats or violence happening on the ground. Typed reports of those calls would be delivered to movement leaders and the press.
And that was a major transformation in the movement. Social movements always use the technology of their day to the maximum because social movements are all about communicating to people. That's still happening today. The only thing that's different is that it's much faster.
Sam is also using public data to track and map instances of police violence across the country.
We've learned things that communities have been saying for a long time. We've mapped 336 black people killed by police in 2015, 313 who were killed by police in 2014. Because of the internet, we were able to actually gather this data in a way that actually ended up being much more comprehensive than the federal government has ever been able to do.
What do you think Dr. King would think about the Black Lives Matter movement, for example?
I think he would be very appreciative of the fact whenever young people are concerned about things other than themselves. That's a positive sign. I think he would have thrived in this kind of an age. He would have been very, very open to using social media. He would have had millions of followers on Twitter.
Are you hopeful?
Absolutely. We've seen over 1,000 protests take place. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people engaged. We've seen 24 states sign legislation to improve police accountability. We've seen the president take executive action in order to address police brutality. All of that work has happened in the space of a little over a year. This is a moment of tremendous opportunity, but it is not something that is preordained. It is something that could all be taken away and we could go backwards. And so we have to keep fighting.
Has the internet encouraged you to become more politically engaged in the offline world? Tell us in the comments below. And check out this next video about a superintendent who transformed a school district in a poor community outside St. Louis.
If all you can do is make it to school, we'll take care of the rest. Food, clothes, shoes, healthcare.
What kind of changes did you start to see in your students when you started to remove those barriers?
So when kids knew that we cared, there was almost like this light bulb went off. This willingness to try.
Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more Seeker stories.